big thing is, for me, if you ever see the massive population going towards one thing, you got to think about how many people are doing the wrong thing out there, dude. There's a lot of people that are not good role models, and a lot of people that are not people you want to look up to and emulate what they're doing, because the average American is overweight, overworked, underpaid, and fucking unhealthy.
Massively in debt, too.
And in debt, dude, exactly. They've got tons of credit card debt. They've probably got tons of student loan debt. Student loan debt is the biggest form of debt in America. It's larger than credit card debt. And there is a fuckload of credit card debt.
Yeah, I think the average American household has like $70,000 in credit card debt or something like that.
Yeah, and the sad thing is like these...
Which is insane. Think about that. Fucking insane.
It is insane. But the even more fucked up thing is that we're setting up kids, literally kids that are just coming out of high school, and we're telling them that it's going to be worth it for them to take out these loans, that they're going to be paying off for years and years and years to come. And it's like, oh, you just got out of college, and let's say you're one of the fortunate ones that's not being underpaid, and you are making $65K or $60K or $70K. And I'd say that's a great job. The thing is you've got, now to upkeep your lifestyle that you've been used to in college, you're going to have a pretty decent apartment that's going to be kind of expensive. You're going to probably want like a decent car because you've got a nice job and you don't want to be showing up in a jalopy. You got to be wearing like nice clothes to kind of show up and be presentable at work. And then you also have your $1,000 to $1,500 student loan payment that you're doing. And then you've got a little bit left over for fun. You're basically living paycheck to paycheck. You're still in the rat race, but on paper, you're making more profit. But all of it's going back to all these things that you've put into debt for yourself. It's like you're setting yourself up where instead of starting at square one, you're setting yourself up to start from square -10.
I saw a Twitter thread that was screenshots of people's student loans, and it was like 10 years ago, I took out a student loan for $70,000. So far, I've made a $38,000 payment, and I owe $72,000. It's like, huh? Like
interest, motherfucker.
The interest will kill you.
Yeah, and a lot of kids just, I mean, dude, financial literacy is a huge thing. I mean, I'm not the most financially literate person.
I had to learn how to be financially literate, but even
more so when you have an injury and you're dealing with some big payments on certain things, and you're dealing with,
you got little money,
and you've got little money, you've got, insurance is trying to fuck you always. I mean, because if you think about it, dude, like there's so many institutions that we just take for granted. Like, oh yeah, I have life insurance. It's like, wait, what? Like, like just little things like that you just don't even think about, that are just these things that you would never have the luxury to even have in the past or whatever. And you gotta like be careful with some of those things, because I think people just take for granted, like, oh yeah, I got a credit card, I'll pay it off eventually. It's the idea of like delayed gratification,
pushing everything off to the future. Yeah, I think it was my sister who told something like this. She said, debt that is not like home debt or student debt is a representation of people's inability to be patient. Saying that you want instant gratification for long-term consequence. That if you would just wait and save up and be patient and then buy that thing versus buying it now and paying it off later.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, you can buy $2,000 worth of stuff and have a $100 a month payment, and it's like in your head, you're like, it's just $100 a month. So then you buy another $2,000 worth of stuff. You're like, it's just $200 a month. And then before you know it.
Well, there's something great about having a stack of money that starts to dwindle. But with that card, you just swipe, and you never see anything. You just a number on a computer.
There's a financial guy named Dave Ramsey. And he's like, he helps people get out of debt. And one of the rules that he has is only pay everything in cash. Only carry an envelope around with cash. And not because, but so you get to watch it go away.
Yeah.
So when
even gas, everything.
So when you go to buy that $5 coffee, you pull out that bill and you go, I think I'm gonna get the $2 coffee instead. I think I'm gonna go home. I got coffee at home, and then you put it back and you put it in your pocket. Versus just swipe. And I think that's definitely the youth are getting fucked up with Venmo and Cash App and PayPal and microtransactions and credit cards and debit cards. No one sees money anymore. It's all like invisible and all made up. And we're
living in the fucking simulation, Richard.
Yeah, and it's like they just don't understand, man.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing I wanted to read from this article about college. It says This is from Gary Vaynerchuk's website. I like Gary V, but sometimes he's a little bit crazy. But I for the most part, I love Gary V.
Gary Vee's one of these people that like I can handle for like a week or two.
Exactly.
And then I'm like, hey, Gary Vee, shut the
Peace
fuck
out.
up, go away. And then like in a couple of months, I'm like, I could use some Gary Vee right now.
Yeah. So this article is about college, and he says pressure from parents is not a good enough reason to collect enormous debt. Parents are forcing their kids to collect debt just so they can feel good about their kids going to a brand name university. And I definitely experienced that. I know that, my parents always, not necessarily my mom or my dad, not to throw my dad under the bus, but he always wanted me to go to like a good school, like, University of Georgia or whatever. And it feels good when you're hanging out with your friends and you're able to say like, oh, what's Andrew up to? Oh, he's doing great. He's a sophomore at UGA. They don't have to say anything else. You checked the box.
That's the same thing as being like, my business is successful right now. It's like, my kid is successful.
Exactly.
Like,
it's just a box, But when you're like, oh yeah, he actually dropped down. He's doing this. He's trying to do this other thing. Oh, he's doing this other thing. Oh, he's
working in this escape game place and like a restaurant and like trying to do YouTube. And it's like, but now
he's making music. He's doing good. He's on YouTube.
But now it's different because it's like now it can be like, oh yeah, he's running a successful YouTube channel and like he doesn't have to work at the restaurant or the escape game place or whatever.
If you have supportive parents, it doesn't matter what the fuck you do. You can be supported. But the thing is that idea that like, well, I went to Auburn and I need my son to go to Auburn so I can be validated, and he needs to go to the same fraternity.
Are you at a Pi Delta Chi?
He needs to be in the same fraternity that I was in and hang out with the same people and do the same things. It's like people are living vicariously through their children 100%. They go to all the tailgates. They go to the games. Yeah, exactly. And
sports is the biggest thing for that.
This is the other thing I wanted to close on. It says the brand of college will collapse in the next recession. So the brand of college, meaning like you going to college to kind of like have that status symbol. And it says, I genuinely believe that student loan debt will tear down this economy, which I agree. There are so many kids out there in tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt on insane interest, making $34K a year, still getting big loans to buy cars and apartments, and the math just doesn't add up. I really think it's only a matter of time until everything collapses.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to end. It seems like if you guys know anything about like the mortgage crisis and the Big Short and the big fall of 2008, where basically what they were doing is giving out loans to people that couldn't afford them. And then when they couldn't afford them, they would just default on the loans. And now that's what's happening with student debt.
You can't default though. You can't bankrupt yourself out of a student loan debt. That's the fucked up part.
You can't bankrupt yourself, but you can default. And what that means is like, then they can sell it to someone else.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay, sorry, I was wrong thing. But student loan debt is the only type of debt that you cannot bankrupt yourself out of. Because doctors were doing that back in the day.
Student loan debt that you get from the government, private student loan debt you can bankrupt out of. I think, like for example, if you go to like Wells Fargo and you're like, I need $25,000 for school, you can bankrupt. But you can't out of like Sally Mae.
Well, there's certain classifications. Like if you just say you want a loan and then you go use it for a school, yeah. But if you're like specifically getting like a subsidized government assistance, like
yes.
Because I think if it's government assistance, yes. But it's all, I think, like even if you went through a privatized investment firm to get like student loans, I still think they get some sort of like weird subsidy, and it's like classified under a certain type of loan. Because like I had a savings account. There was a certain type of savings account where if I didn't, it was not taxed if I used the money on education. But since I dropped out, I had to be taxed on all of the savings. It was a bad investment in that case, because there's the reason why you want to have certain types of investments and things is because a lot of times you can save it and you can't pull it out for a certain amount of years, but then you don't get taxed on it or whatever. And that was a type of private investment thing, but because it was classified under this certain classification that I had to use it for education, I had to be heavily taxed on it, which was just unfortunate, but that's just the reality of it. I wasn't ever going to use it on education. I knew that, so I just pulled it out before it racked up even more tax, percentage.
Jesus.
Yeah, right, but the thing the one last thing to say on that, don't feel guilty as a kid, like, because just like in spinal cord injury where you get hurt and like everyone like raises a bunch of money for you to like go to rehab and you're like, guess I have to go to rehab now. I didn't even want to do this or whatever. Like, I just want to get back to living. It's the same thing that happens when you have a graduation party and everyone gives you all these donations and they give you, a graduation present and you go, oh, grandpa gave you this much money and grandpa's been saving all this money for you to go to college, and you feel guilty about like not going to college. You're like, well, fuck, like, I guess I have to. Like, grandpa's been saving up all this money for years and years. And like, that's how I felt. Like, I felt really bad about it, but you have to have a hard conversation with yourself and say, at the end of the day, dude, are you doing this because you're just lazy and you just want that money? Or are you doing it because you're actually realizing like, this is not the best investment into myself. I don't want to,
Are you doing it for you or are you doing it for someone else?
Exactly.
That's the biggest question you have to ask yourself in any decision that you ever make, honestly.
100%.
Am I doing this for me or am I doing this to make other people happy? Am I doing this to please other people? Like, what am I actually doing?
You also have to have a healthy grain of salt with that, because sometimes you got to buckle down and do some shit you don't want to do.
Agreed.
But at the end of the day, big major life decisions and things that you're doing on a macro scale, you should be doing them for the greater good of yourself and not just like simple pleasures like, oh, well, I'm going to go, do this for me. I need to go do this. I need to go to the strip club for me, man.
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
I know. I'm just
talking about big decisions.
I'm clarifying.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's a lot of self-congratulatory things and things that are not beneficial to you that you can say are for me, man. Oh, I just need to treat yourself. I'm going to go. I need to self-care. It's like, no, like there's a healthy medium in that. Hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to watch the full episode that clip was from, you can click right here. If you want to subscribe to the channel, you can click right here. And if you want to watch more clips, we got 2 more right here.